On a restless Thursday afternoon just outside Toledo, Ohio, the sky couldn't decide between rain or sunshine. Along a quiet stretch of highway, a sleek silver prototype car sat lifeless on the shoulder, hood open, steam rising like a bad omen. Behind the wheel was Derrick Langston, the 42-year-old CEO of Langston Automotive Group, a man used to control, money, and respect. His $1 million electric prototype had just died 10 miles from its test site. Furious and sweating through his designer shirt, he muttered, "Unbelievable. The future of driving, and it can't even make it to town." With no one from his team answering the phone, Derrick reluctantly searched for help and found the nearest repair shop, Brooks Auto Repair, 5 miles away. No sleek building, no fancy logo, just a small garage with faded blue paint and a corrugated roof. When he arrived, he was greeted by the sound of clanking metal, old R&B playing softly on the radio, and the smell of oil thick in the air. Behind the counter stood Tanya Brooks, a black woman in her early 30s, wearing a green jumpsuit with her name stitched on the chest. Her curly hair was tied back, hands streaked with grease. She looked up from the carburetor she was fixing and asked calmly, "You lost?" Derrick blinked, clearly surprised. "You're the mechanic." "Last time I checked," Tanya replied, wiping her hands. Skeptical but desperate, Derrick explained that the stalled car was a top-of-the-line prototype, not your average vehicle. Tanya's lips curled into a half-smile. "Lucky for you, I'm not your average mechanic." Derrick laughed, half mocking. "You sure about that?" "Positive." "Bring it in." Inside the garage, chaos lived in perfect order, parts scattered, tools gleaming, engines half open. It wasn't pretty, but it was alive. Tanya's focus was absolute. No hesitation, no guessing, just quiet confidence. When Derrick tried to explain how advanced the car was, Tanya interrupted smoothly, "If it's broken, it's broken. Doesn't matter how shiny it is." He didn't like that, he wasn't used to being interrupted. But as she worked, her skill spoke louder than any title. When he joked that he'd marry her if she fixed it, Tanya shot back without blinking, "Better hope you brought a tux then." The laughter around the shop faded quickly. An hour passed. Tanya worked with surgical precision, connecting diagnostic tools, checking wiring, jotting notes. Derrick found himself watching her, not out of arrogance anymore, but curiosity. She wasn't trying to prove anything. She just knew what she was doing. When she discovered a subtle fault in the calibration system, Derrick was doubtful. But Tanya's calm voice carried weight. "Your issue isn't mechanical. It's electronic, software feedback loop." When Derrick insisted his engineers would have caught that, she simply said, "Happens to the best." As she explained her background, years in Detroit's auto plants, ignored by management after catching a costly mistake, Derrick saw her differently. Not just a mechanic, but someone who'd been silenced, overlooked, and yet refused to quit. "So, what are you doing here?" he asked quietly. "Fixing what other people overlook," she said. The words hit him harder than he expected. Hours later, under the hum of flickering fluorescent lights, Tanya found the real problem, a coding loop that forced the car's AI to shut itself down. "Whoever programmed this," she said, "forgot the reset condition. It keeps chasing its own tail." Derrick was stunned. His engineers had missed it, and this small-town mechanic found it in minutes. Tanya began rewriting the code, her face illuminated by the laptop's blue glow. Rain tapped softly on the roof as Derrick watched, humbled. When the system finally reset, Tanya whispered, "Moment of truth." The engine coughed, then roared to life, smooth, clean, perfect. Derrick's disbelief turned to admiration. "You actually did it," he said. Tanya shrugged. "Told you it was a feedback loop." For the first time, Derrick extended a hand, not as a CEO, but as a man showing respect. "Thank you." She shook it firmly. "You're welcome. That'll be 20 grand. He laughed. "You drive a hard bargain." I fix harder engines, she replied with a grin. The next morning, the silver prototype sat gleaming inside Langston Automotive headquarters. Derrick's engineers circled it, confused and embarrassed. Tanya's notes sat on the table, clear, sharp, brilliant. No one could explain how she'd done it, only that it worked. From his glass office above, Derrick made a decision. He called Brooks Auto. "Tanya," he said when she answered. "How'd you like to teach my engineers what real skill looks like?" By noon, Tanya Brooks, grease-streaked hands, old blue pickup, fearless eyes, walked through the glass doors of Langston Automotive. The same woman he'd once underestimated was now about to show an entire company how it's really done. And Derrick Langston? He didn't just learn how to fix his car. He learned how to fix his pride. The moment Tanya stepped inside Langston Automotive's glass fortress, the energy shifted. The floor gleamed like a mirror, executives moved with rehearsed precision, and walls of polished steel reflected a world of control. But Tanya didn't flinch. She'd seen enough boardrooms from a distance to know that power isn't in who talks the loudest, it's in who actually fixes things. A young engineer looked her up and down, his tone half amused, half dismissive. "You're the consultant." Tanya smiled. "Depends. You're the one who broke it." The room went quiet. Even Derrick couldn't hide a grin. For the next 2 hours, Tanya worked at the center of the lab, surrounded by men and women who doubted her, challenged her, whispered about her behind screens. But each question she answered dismantled their doubt. Every move she made was clean, precise, unflinching. She explained the code error she'd found, then the electrical flaw that caused it. The engineers took notes like students before a masterclass. At one point, a senior developer interrupted, clearly irritated. "We ran this test already. The feedback loop isn't the issue." Tanya glanced up from her tablet. "Then why does your AI shut down when voltage hits 72%? He froze. She continued, "Your simulation ends before that threshold. Try running it again, all the way through this time." They did. And when the system crashed exactly as she predicted, the room went silent except for the soft hum of machinery. Derrick folded his arms, hiding a smile. "Guess the mechanic knows her stuff," he said quietly. By the end of the day, the problem was fixed. The prototype systems ran smoother than ever. Tanya stood back, wiping her hands as the engine purred in perfect rhythm. One of the junior engineers, a quiet woman in her 20s, approached and whispered, "Thank you. I've never seen anyone talk to them like that." Tanya smiled. "Don't talk to them. Show them." That night, as Tanya packed up to leave, Derrick stopped her by the door. "You know," he began, "we've been recruiting top talent for months. I've seen people with degrees from MIT, Stanford, and not one of them did what you did today." Tanya chuckled softly. "Maybe you're looking in the wrong places." He nodded, serious now. "Maybe I am. How about coming on board? Head of diagnostics. Full salary, full benefits, your own lab." For the first time that day, Tanya hesitated. She looked around, at the spotless floors, the quiet hum of machines, the suits pretending not to listen. Then she looked back at him. "I appreciate it," she said, "but I built my own place for a reason. People come to me because I see them. Out there, it's not about titles, it's about trust. You can't build that in a boardroom." Derrick respected that. More than he could admit. "Then let me help you expand it," he offered. "Langston Auto will fund Brooks Repair, your way, your rules. You teach my people, and I'll make sure they learn where real innovation comes from." Tanya smiled. "Now that's a deal I can fix." Weeks later, a new sign went up in front of her shop. Brooks Auto Repair, in partnership with Langston Automotive. Word spread fast. Clients flooded in. Mechanics from around the state applied to train under her. She even started a program for young girls who wanted to learn automotive engineering, kids who reminded her of herself years ago, full of fire but ignored by the world. And Derrick? He became a regular visitor. Sometimes he'd bring new prototypes, sometimes just coffee and conversation. Their friendship was unexpected but real, built not on power, but on mutual respect. One rainy evening, as they watched a car engine roar to life under Tanya's hands, Derrick said quietly, "You know, I came here thinking you were just a mechanic." Tanya smirked, tightening a bolt. "And now? Now I think you're the reason my company still runs." She laughed. "Nah. You fixed that yourself." But as the storm rumbled outside and the engine purred steady and strong, both of them knew the truth. Sometimes the best lessons come not from boardrooms or titles, but from the people the world underestimates the most. Because brilliance doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes, it wears grease-stained gloves and a name patch that says Tanya Brooks.